The economic collapse has already begun. It is on your doorstep. Now, what will you do? Sit back and wait for the government to hand out relief? How well is that working? With so many families that have already forced out of their homes in the darkest of winters. After a small amount of help came too late. Tell that to the small business owners in your hometown that were in business for decades until the government forcibly shut down that business and many more like it. Leaving millions of Americans without jobs seemingly overnight. In America, less than 29% of people could last more than 30 days on what is stored in their homes. If 2020 taught us anything, our supply chains are broken and under constant assault. American supply chains have been attacked during the last 36 months only to culminate in the current circumstances that we find ourselves in. From the trade wars that still have not been resolved, to the once in a 100-year pandemic, to the most recent blockage of the Suez Canal. All of which is leading to insecurities and anxiety when you go to the grocery store, only to find that your home staple products are either not available or are at a price that has increased in the last few months alone. Where is all of this going? And when will we see some relief? Unfortunately, that seems to be unforeseen. Have we all finally reaped what we have sown, for our want it now, on-demand life? What is the answer? Is some bogeyman coming to take our way of life and plunge it into some bleak future where we all will perish? Well, the short answer is that there is no short answer. In order to change this situation, we have to be prepared for the inevitable. The 5 basic things anyone needs to survive. We will hit on food first and work from there. As many of you may remember, in 2020 a lot of Americans were caught with their pants down, when it came to being able to get food off the shelves of the grocery stores. Many could not get much of anything, as the panic of the virus and the shutdowns began. We must start with the rules. Number 1, never panic buy. Number 2, inches make miles, and number 3, proper preparation prevents poor performance. What are some of the best foods to store long term? Here are long-term food storage items that you can consider. Foods with extremely long shelf life. Some foods have a very long shelf life when packaged and stored correctly. You can easily buy such food items at a grocery store. But, if you want food for long-term storage, you can consider repackaging or sealing them. Here are some foods that have a very long shelf life: dried beans, 30 years, dehydrated fruit slices, 30 years, pasta products, 30 years, rolled oats, 30 years, potato flakes, 30 years, dehydrated carrots, 20 years. Number 1, whole wheat berries. Whole wheat berries are usually sealed in foil packages and sometimes inside large plastic buckets. To remove oxygen and prevent the permeation of moisture, the foil package is hermetically sealed. It can last for decades if processed, packaged, and stored correctly. Number 2, white rice. If properly stored, white rice can last up to 20 years. As a staple food all over the world, rice is a must in any long-term storage plan. Store the same way you store wheat berries, and you can have it available for when you need it. Number 3, dried corn. If properly dried and protected from moisture, corn will last for decades. It is a staple that provides significant nutritional value. Number 4, honey. Archaeologists discovered honey jars in an ancient tomb in Egypt. The honey was 3,000 years old, based on carbon dating, but was still food safe and tasted like real honey. Honey is known for being able to last indefinitely. Number 4, sugar. If you can keep sugar hermetically sealed to prevent moisture, sugar can also last a very long time. Number 5, salt. If you can keep moisture out of stored salt, it will last almost indefinitely. Salt is used in food preservation, in methods such as pickling and curing. This staple is commonly used for long-term food storage. Number 6, baking soda. While it is not a food source, baking soda is used for baking. If kept dry, it will last indefinitely. Number 7, powdered milk. This staple can survive up to 20 years. When storing powdered milk for the long term, moisture absorber packets are recommended, although some packaging solutions might not require them. Number 8. Bouillon products. Granular chicken or beef flavored bouillon products tend to store better than bouillon cubes. With the proper processing, packaging, and storage, bouillon products can last for decades. Number 9. Instant coffee, cocoa powder, and tea. If you keep these ingredients dry, they will last for decades without losing flavor or potency. Some processed and packaged foods have a shelf life of 20 to 30 years if stored properly. They are excellent as a survival and emergency food. These are great items to stockpile because they will retain their nutritional value for years to come. The next step is water. We touched on food, but another necessity for life is water. Without it, we could not survive. We need it to drink, cook with, and clean with. You need to know how much water you will need. As a rule, one person needs 1 gallon of water each day. Half is used for drinking and the other to take care of any hygiene needs. Keep in mind that this amount may go up depending on where you live. If it's in a hotter climate or have others in your group that may need to consume more, like pregnant or nursing women or someone with special needs to stay more hydrated. All this will have to be counted into a factor when you go to store water. So how many days should you prep for? This can depend on what you are doing. Are you planning for a natural disaster or something else? As a starting point, FEMA recommends that you have water on hand for everyone in your group for 3 days. This should be enough to get you through most disaster situations until help can arrive, if your regular source of water cannot be used. However, what if you need to wait a longer time frame? How much do you want to store away just in case? Now we go into fire. In almost any survival situation, a fire is needed. Although it may seem like a simple task, most struggle to construct a campfire. In addition, starting the fire can be a difficult job if you run out of matches while outdoors. Whether it is used as a heat source during cold nights or to cook your meals, it is essential that everyone know the proper way of building fires and starting them with and without matches. Moving on, we go to shelter. This is important because depending on what's happening, you need to have a safe place to be. What is a survival shelter? A survival shelter is any structure that is naturally occurring or man-made, that will be able to protect you from animals, insects, and the elements. Survival shelters can range from dugouts, snow tunnels to A-frame wooden structures. Shelters come in different forms and serve many purposes, but one thing is certain, it's near impossible to survive without them. Wilderness survival shelters. If you know the rule of threes, you understand just how important dependable shelter is. As the saying goes, you can't survive 3 hours without shelter in a harsh environment. If you're caught in a snowstorm or even out in the desert heat without shelter, the clock begins counting down to a serious situation that could cost you your life. No matter where you are, rain and moisture can be your deadliest enemy. When you're wet, it's extremely difficult to stay warm. This is one of many reasons why it's so important to make sure that your shelter is waterproof and dry. Of course, it might not always be possible to stay 100% dry if you have limited resources. However, there are some techniques that can help. Elevating your bed. No matter your environment, you should always elevate your bed off the ground if you can. Not only is it an important part of staying dry, but there can be bugs to worry about as well. Find coverage. You may be able to find natural coverage and protection from the rain. Large trees and caves can be a lifesaver, if you don't have the natural resources or time to build your own shelter. Just make sure that you're not sharing it with any kind of animal first. No matter what happens, do everything you can to stay dry. Once you're drenched to the bone, getting dry and keeping your body temperature will become extremely difficult. Next up is creature comforts. These are items that can help out, when you may need them to help make things a bit more comfortable. These items can be those extra snacks you like, or they can be something like a camping shower that could make roughing it a bit more bearable. Even a portable camping toilet could make your days and nights easier to handle. The last and definitely most important thing to add to this list, is that when planning for a disaster, or even for another lockdown type of scenario, is to make sure to have things like special medications, extra food, and supplies for pets, babies, or anyone with special needs. Do remember to have those things that would help them on hand. Always remember this: fortune favors the prepared mind.